My name is Celine Buckens, and I play Tasha in The Ex-Wife. The Ex-Wife is about a young woman who marries this older man, and she becomes convinced that his ex-wife might not be so ex. It's a psychological thriller with that premise. When we meet her, Tasha is someone who's very independent, very optimistic, someone who, crucially, is very confident. And that confidence gets tested throughout the series because the scenario that she finds herself in is one where we're not sure as an audience whether she's becoming paranoid or whether she's being put in an unfair situation, but her confidence gets eroded. But when we meet her, she's someone who is confident in every regard. She's at the outset of her career, so intellectually, sexually, in terms of how she reacts with the world, she's someone who really has a grip of herself. Tasha's relationship with her husband, Jack, at the outset is pretty idyllic. It almost seems too idyllic. It seems like they've got a good rapport. There's a sense of humor in their relationship. They both are completely dedicated to their daughter, Emily. That's where we start. And of course, things get more complicated as the series goes on. Tasha's feelings towards Jack's ex-wife, Jen, are quite complicated. Although at the beginning she starts off in a position of relative, I wouldn't say authority, but I don't think she feels particularly threatened at the beginning. Throughout the series, and throughout even episode 1, she becomes more and more jealous and envious. And the question is that envy, is that obsession and paranoia about Jen, about the ex-wife, justified? Is there actually something afoot, or is it all in Tasha's mind? And that's sort of the drive of the series. Tasha's relationship with her husband's family, Jack's family, is a complicated one because, one, she's much younger than Jack, and two, because of that generational divide, there's an assumption on behalf of the husband's family that she might be a gold digger, and that's something that I was very interested in as a theme because I find the concept of gold diggers such a misogynistic concept because, you know, we're in a society where women get paid less than men anyway. I don't find those objectives questionable anyway, but that doesn't mean that is necessarily why Tasha is in that relationship. But I think she faces a lot of the prejudice of her husband's family, which makes their relationship very, very antagonistic and complicated. She's someone in her early 20s who lives in East London. And the fact that she gives all of that up, really, to live a much more conventional lifestyle, marrying someone who lives in a very big house and having a child, having a nuclear family. I was really fascinated by what would incite someone to make that shift. And I think it's a very rare shift. I think it's a shift that we're not used to seeing on screen, not anymore. I think like 60, 70 years ago, that would have been a very normal story, but it isn't anymore. And so I was really curious as to what would make someone do that. And I think that what we're exploring, or at least one of my main drives in exploring Tasha, is this idea of female sexual desire, but that isn't vilified. There's nothing wrong with it, which acts as a very strong drive and gets her into a situation which she could not have predicted before, and opens up the possibility and the idea that maybe, you know, her drive and determination for her career could be shifted to a motherhood drive. What I found really interesting is how her drive for her career and her sort of youthful drive to start a life that's more usual for someone in their early 20s living in East London who does have a creative career, how that gets sort of transposed and transported onto a drive to raise a child. And I think a lot of women do, not quite as early as Tasha, but I think a lot of women do experience that shift where they think, okay, well, actually there is this other thing that I want to do. And I think it's quite rare for it to happen so early in life. nowadays in London. But I think that's a choice that many women are faced with, and that was interesting to me. I thought the script was a real page turner, and I really like the genre that it operates in. The sort of noirish, thrillery relationship, psychological thrillers, in the sort of vein of Hitchcock and Brian De Palma. Those are genres that I've loved and appreciated for a long time, and so I really, reading the script, I could really visualize it in that world, which made me really excited. I did read the novel. I hadn't read it before, but I read it once I got the script because I'd only got the first couple of episodes and I wanted to know how it finished. So I did read the novel. I do think that the characterization that I'm doing is very different to the novel, and I think the scripts are quite a departure from the novel, but the plot is the same and uses all that suspense and tension the novel does so well. Tasha's relationship with Sam, her best friend, is a complicated and quite modern way. I think that it's not uncommon for people in their early 20s living in London to have friendships that have terms like not exclusive or like seeing each other but not dating. They've got a friendship, a very close friendship that falls within that category where, you know, has tipped into something other than friendship at some points, but fundamentally he is Tasha's only friend. And that is his importance to her, is as someone that she knows will be there for her and will be honest with her. And she really relies on him in that sense. But it is complicated by that ambiguity that getting with each other in the past has created. The ex-wife is suspenseful, disorientating, and visually striking, which is a cheat, but yeah.